So what I thought we'd do for today's video is go over each championship club and look into who is their most upcoming youngster and have a bit of a discussion about how far we think they will actually go. I've gone for a player who's either 21 years old or younger. Before we get into anything though, let's give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, their link will be in the top line of the description down below. As I'm sure all you guys are aware, we did have midweek action going on in the championship and a lot of dramatic games. We had that mad comeback from Leeds being 2-0 down against Millwall to win it by 3-2. We had West Brom's dodgy run continuing as Cardiff beat them, and a lot of big results down the bottom of the championship. We had Luton beating Derby, Wigan and Huddersfield also picking up all 3 points. We had Forest beating Brentford away from home, so a lot of big results in the championship. We'll discuss them in a little bit more detail in tomorrow's video, but feel free to leave your thoughts down below, and over on the OneFootball app you can go ahead and read up on what went on in midweek as well as checking out the games that are coming up over the weekend. So like I said, OneFootball link down below. But without any further ado, let's hop into today's video and let's go through every championship club's most upcoming youngster. Starting out with Barnsley, I could have picked pretty much any of their squad as they all seem to be 21 or under, to be honest, but I've gone for Jacob Brown, a winger who I actually think could go quite far. 1 goal, 8 assists so far this season for Brown, and lately we've also seen Brentford register an interest in the winger, and if Brentford are interested in you, then the chances are that you're doing something well. But had a really good season for Barnsley in League One last season, got 8 goals and 6 assists that season. So far this season, only 3 players in the championship have more assists than Jacob Brown. Birmingham, it has to be Jude Bellingham, probably one of the most talented players we're going to talk about on today's list. I'll leave a poll for you guys to vote on for who you think is the most upcoming player in the championship, but Jude Bellingham is right up there, and at the age of 16 to be dictating games the way he is, what an unbelievable prospect. We've had Manchester United being linked to him in this transfer window, 4 goals and an assist so far this season from centre mid. I think Jude Bellingham will go very far. Obviously it is still very early on in his footballing career, but I think that all the Birmingham fans understand the hype around him. Blackburn Rovers, they had a couple of players who were just a bit over 21 who I was going to pick, you know, the likes of Ryan Niambi, Lewis Travis. I think a big talent's coming up into the future, but for a player under 21, I've gone for Ben Brereton, and he's not really had a great time since making that move over to Blackburn. Obviously burst onto the scene with Nottingham Forest as a really up-and-coming striker, you know, got that pace to go in behind. Since making that move to Blackburn, a fee of around about £7 million with add-ons included, it's just not happened for him. He's only scored 1 goal in his time there so far. I think that maybe the best thing for his career would be a loan move out to League One or something like that to get regular game time, get his confidence back up, because I do still think there is a player there somewhere. Brentford, an honourable mention goes to Josh De Silva, who I think has been fantastic in their midfield, but it's got to be Brandon Mbeumo, 20 years old, 11 goals and 4 assists so far this season, and his season with Brentford has just gone like that. Like, he's completely taken off, fit into that forward 3 that they play with so efficiently. And I mean, earlier on in the season, he didn't look like anything special to me. You know, when Brentford came to Deepdale, he looked a bit lost, really. He couldn't hit the target, but something just clicked with Mbeumo, and suddenly Brentford certainly know how to get the best out of him, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him finishing the season with double figures in goals and assists. Bristol City look no further than Hanno Masengo, with the rumours still circulating around Josh Brownhill. The next player to step into and fill his shoes could be Hanno Masengo, making the move over from Monaco in the summer for around about £7.2 million. And with this being his first, you know, proper season, I think he's handled himself well, and he's only going to go on and get better. With Cardiff, I was struggling a little bit. They don't really tend to feature many youngsters in their squads, but I've gone for Aaron Bolger, the 19-year-old who moved over to Cardiff in the summer. The 19-year-old central midfielder has featured in the Europa League before for Shamrock Rovers. That's where he made the move to Cardiff from. Mostly been playing his football for the under-23 so far, but I'm interested to see what he can do when he does break into the first team. With Charlton, I'm going to go for Alfie Doherty here. A lot of youngsters have had to step up into the Charlton picture this season with all the injuries they've had, but Doherty especially has really caught my eye. When Charlton came to Deepdale, I thought he had put in a fantastic performance. He's played pretty much every position on the pitch so far. You know, he's played everywhere along the left side. He's played in centre midfield, and he's also played on the right a couple of times as well. But when Charlton came to Deepdale, he was played as a left wing back, got the assist for the Andre Green goal, 3 assists for the season so far, and a goal on top of that as well. The guy's absolutely rapid, and he can seriously swing in a decent ball. I think really is one to watch for the future. Derby, Jayden Bogle, still for me one of the best upcoming fullbacks in the league, but got a bit unlucky the other night against Luton with that own goal he scored. Did get a fantastic assist for the Chris Martin goal, but in the end, obviously, Derby did end up losing that match. But 4 assists for the season so far for Bogle. Can either play as a right back or on the wing. Last season when he really burst onto the scene, he he was absolutely fantastic with 2 goals and 9 assists. I think he's not been helped by other players around him not being in form so far this season. With any young player though, I think there's bound to be mistakes in their game, but at only 19, I think he's got a big future. Fulham, Steven Sessegnon, after how Ryan turned out, I think a lot of people are waiting to see what the future will hold for Steven Sessegnon, but playing his football as a right back, the 19-year-old, I think has done fairly well for Fulham whenever he has appeared so far this season. For them making 10 appearances, I think because of what his brother's achieved, a lot of eyeballs are going to be on Steven Sessegnon for the next few years. Huddersfield, Lewis O'Brien, I think they're in what has been a fairly disappointing season for Huddersfield so far, you know, given their expectations after being relegated from the Premier League. The emergence of O'Brien has definitely been one of the positives. You know, we've seen Aaron Moy leaving recently on a permanent basis. I think that this is going to be the player who's naturally going to look to fill that void. 2 goals, 3 assists so far this season, but that doesn't really paint the picture for just how impressive he's actually been. You know, that goal he scored against Barnsley really showed his quality. I was really impressed when he came to Deepdale, and like I said, at only 21, I think he's only going to get better. Hull City, before anyone mentions it, Jarrod Bowen's 23 years old, so he doesn't qualify for today's video. For their most upcoming youngster, it was between 2 for me, either Lewis Potter or Da Silva Lopez. For me, as I've just seen more of Da Silva Lopez so far this season, I've decided to go with him, but 21 years old, just a really silky player on the ball for Hull. And I didn't really have many expectations of him when he did make the move over to Hull, you know. He didn't really work out while he was at Wigan in the Championship, but he's really taken to this Hull side so far. And I think if he can add a few more goals and assists to his game, then Hull have got a serious player there. With Leeds United, I'm really interested to see how Poveda gets on there after recently signing, but I can't admit to have seen all too much. You know, I've just really watched the YouTube compilation, but a youngster coming over from Man City, very intrigued to see how he does. They've got a lot of other upcoming youngsters in their squad as well, the likes of Davis, Shackleton, Robbie Gotts, but one player who I've always quite liked at Leeds has been Tyler Roberts. It's just the fact that the guy never really seems to be fit. You know, he always seems to be picking up an injury, but I remember last season he scored some really crucial goals for Leeds. He got 3 goals, 5 assists for them that season, and at times this season, in some of the games that they haven't been winning, I felt like they have lacked someone like Tyler Roberts in that number 10 role. I think his movement off the ball and link-up play is quite underrated actually, and like I said, in some of the games that Leeds haven't been winning, I felt like Roberts could have been quite useful for them. Luton Town, another one who I wasn't too sure as to who to go for, so I've gone for midfielder Jake Peck, 20-year-old. He came through the youth ranks there at Luton, but Luton fans, if I'm missing out any youngsters that you've got going on at the club at the moment, let me know about them down below. With Middlesbrough, there's quite a few to choose from, and fair play to Jonathan Woodgate. It has been his job to get the best out of a lot of young talent in that squad so far this season. For me, it's probably between Spence and Pearce. Obviously, Ainsley Pearce done fantastically filling in the boots of Dan Randolph. That was never going to be an easy job to do. I think he's done a really good job there so far, but for me, I think I'm just going to give it to Spence. I've been really impressed whenever I've seen him play for Borough so far this season. The 19-year-old fullback who's looked good going forward and solid defensively so far this season, I think he's going to go quite a long way. Millwall, I'm going for Jason Malumbi, a really underrated central midfielder who I don't think enough people are talking about actually. Brilliant at pressing the ball, and I think he's actually been an integral part of why Millwall have been so good under Gary Rowett so far. That pressing football that they've been playing over the past few months, he's really seemed to improve his work on the ball as well, and is definitely a key component in that Millwall side at the moment. Nottingham Forest seem to have an abundance of 22-year-olds in their squad, so obviously they just miss out the players like Matty Cash, who just misses out on this one being 22, but Brendan Johnson, I've decided to go for as their most upcoming prospect. The 18-year-old attacking midfielder has made 6 appearances for Forest in all competitions so far this season. Definitely one for the future though. I think a loan spell could do him good, but definitely one to keep your eye on. Preston North End Tom Bayliss, described as one of the most upcoming youngsters in the Football League when we signed him, and we've not really seen much of him so far this season. Apart from the odd cup appearance here and there, we've barely seen Tom Bayliss feature so far. When he has played though, I think he's looked quite tidy on the ball. A central midfielder who signed for Coventry in the summer for around about £2 million, so not a cheap deal. He had a great few years at Coventry before making the move to the North End, and it's just about him getting that chance now in the league. QPR Berriese, 21 years old, 10 goals, 6 assists so far this season. The definition of silk on the ball. This season, I mean, we all knew about Eze last season, but this year round, he's really taken his game to the next level. He's been linked to a whole host of Premier League clubs, and is probably one of, if not the most valuable players who we've talked about on this list so far. Over the past few years, I think that QPR have had a bit of a tendency to sell their top players on quite cheap deals. You know, they've not really got the most out of them, whereas I don't feel as if they can afford to do the same with Eze, because I think they've got a real gem on their hands there. Someone who will go on and could play, you know, an elite level of football for how good he is, for how young he is. Reading are another club who have quite a bit of talent in their youth ranks. For their most upcoming player, I've gone for Michael Elise. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but looks to be a really exciting emerging midfielder. Only 18 years old, but in the few glimpses that I've seen of him so far this season, I'm sure that Reading fans could tell me better, he looks to be like a real spark for them going forward. I think that Mark Bowen's already said that he's going to be the future of the club there. Definitely definitely one to keep your eye on over the next few years. Sheffield Wednesday, Asaiza Rulahide, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but burst onto the scene with that game they had against Brighton in the FA Cup and then that interview that he gave after the game. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but after Sheffield Wednesday kept a clean sheet in that one, he came across as just a really nice guy. He was released by AFC Wimbledon at the end of the last season, went on trial at Sheffield Wednesday and was then given a contract by them. Still a young defender obviously, so still learning his trade. You know, in that game they had against Blackburn, I think that Adam Armstrong got the better of him, but he's going to go on and get better and definitely one to watch for the future. Stoke City, Tyrese Campbell, I think that in terms of potential for a player, Tyrese Campbell is right up there on this list and has recently just signed a new long-term contract with Stoke City. I think that his original contract was expiring at the end of the season. There's been a lot of speculation around January linking him away from the club. I think Celtic and Rangers both being interested, as well as a host of Premier League clubs. But the 20-year-old has committed his future to Stoke City, scoring 5 goals and grabbing an assist so far this season. Swansea City, I've gone for Ben Cabango, which just sounds like a great name when you say it out loud, but the centre-back who's really had to step up this season in the absence of Joe Rodon whilst he's been out injured, but has done really well. I thought he played really well in the South Wales derby. Swansea have kept 4 clean sheets in the last 5 games that Cabango's featured in. I think it's another real hot prospect for Wales as well. With West Brom, I'm going to go for Nathan Ferguson, but as of recording this video, it's looking like he may be on his way to Crystal Palace in a deal worth up to £10 million. When you guys are watching this video, I'm sure that you'll know more on the situation by now, but West Brom fans, I'd love to get your take on this one in the comments down below, because Nathan Ferguson has been a player who has really caught my eye. He's versatile with the fact that he can either play at left or right back, and there has been quite a bit of interest in Ferguson for quite a while now. But do you think he's ready for Premier League football? Let me know down below. Wigan Athletic, I think you have to go for young striker Joe Gelhardt. He's not really been given much of an opportunity so far this season. Did score a terrific goal against Hull, a brilliantly worked team goal that one, but apart from that, we've not really seen much of him. He's only made 1 start for Wigan this season and has then made 10 appearances off from the bench. But with Wigan being the lowest scorers in the league, you'd think that maybe Paul Cook will want to experiment with him there a little bit more, because he's looked decent when he has featured for me. I think all the Wigan fans share that view, that they do quite highly rate Gelhardt as well. It's just we'd like to see a bit more of it. But guys, there you have it. There are my opinions on who I believe to be each championship club's most upcoming youngsters. So if you did go on to enjoy today's video, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you subscribe for a bit of regular championship content. Stick around on the channel for tomorrow when we will have our championship score predictions coming back. But apart from that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.